Good day, everyone. I am deeply honored and privileged for joining you in this noble undertaking slated as the 6th Regional Conference for Promoting World-Class Education. My name is Mr. Hector B. Atondo, a student of Bicol University Graduate School, taking up Doctor of Philosophy, major in Educational Foundation, and a teacher of Tabaco National High School in Tabaco City Division. I am here to present to you my research paper entitled Contextualized Instructional Materials in Teaching, Reading, and Writing Skills. The implementation of the K-12 program in 2012 in the Philippines has posed a lot of challenges to teachers who are considered as the frontline workers in the education sector. Teachers have been required to adopt a new approach in teaching called contextualization. This refers to the educational process of relating the curriculum to a particular setting, situation, or area of application to make the competencies relevant, meaningful, and useful to learners. Having said that, the need for contextualized instructional materials is deemed important. At the school level, teachers were just provided with a curriculum guide with the absence of the prescribed contextualized instructional materials, particularly in reading and writing skills for senior high school. Thus, this research paper aimed to come up with a contextualized instructional material in teaching reading and writing skills. Specifically, it sought to answer the following questions. First, what are the instructional materials used by the teachers of Tabaco City Division in teaching reading and writing skills? Second, what is the extent of contextualization found in the instructional materials used by the teachers of Tabaco City Division in teaching reading and writing skills? And third, what contextualized supplemental material may be proposed for teaching reading and writing skills? The creation of a contextualized instructional material was anchored on the theory of connectionism, subsumption, and scaffolding. In connectionism, the instructional materials will serve as the bridge between the classroom and the real-world situations. It further argued that the learning takes place when a learner identifies connection between what he is learning and its application in the real world. Subsumption theory, which was popularized by Ausubel, emphasizes on the big role of the schema as an important factor to learning new things. The scaffolding theory, on the other hand, claims that a person needs support in order to learn things. Let's proceed to the conceptual paradigm, which explains the progression of the study. It first identified the instructional materials used in teaching reading and writing skills. Then the assessment of the extent of contextualization followed. It ended with the crafting of the contextualized instructional materials in teaching said subject. On methodology, the study used the mixed method of qualitative and quantitative research design, which means the data were collected and analyzed qualitatively and quantitatively. To answer the first and second problem of the study, a survey method was used using the researcher-made tool anchored on the definition of contextualization. The focus group discussion and the interviews were added to enhance the data obtained from the survey. In the analysis and interpretation of the data, the researcher made use of simple statistics, which included the frequency count and the general weighted mean, to determine the instructional materials used and the extent of contextualization found in them. The participants of the study were the secondary school teachers who were teaching reading and writing skills in the Tabaco City Division. The succeeding slides were the findings and results of the study. Table 1 here shows that there were only 7 instructional materials used by the teachers who were teaching reading and writing skills in Tabaco City Division. 5 are reference books and 2 are online sources. Table 2 discusses the extent of contextualization of each instructional material. Results revealed that reference book number 1 was rated 1.99, which means less extent of contextualization. Reference book number 2 was 2.01, which means moderate extent of contextualization. Reference book number 3 was 2.0, which means moderate extent of contextualization. Reference book number 4 was rated 2.03, which is moderate extent of contextualization. Reference book number 5 with rating of 2.01 is less extent of contextualization. For online sources number 1, it got 2.35, so moderate extent of contextualization. And online sources number 2 with 2.0 rating interpreted with moderate extent of contextualization. For the extent of contextualization of all the instruction materials from reference book number 1 down to online sources number 2, along with appropriateness, relevance, applicability, and localization, the result is 2.04 with verbal interpretation as moderate extent of contextualization. This was backed up by the teachers and supervising English personnel who said that the instructional materials used were difficult on the part of the learners and that engagement was hard to achieve. In addition, text in the instructional materials tackled overarching international issues which did not happen in BICOL. Furthermore, on applicability, there were only a few instructional materials that used concepts usable in real-world situations. And last, for localization, the IMs were not reflective of the Bicolano culture, history, and identity. Results also of interviews with the supervising English personnel further revealed that contextualization was not an easy task for teachers, as scarcity of contextualized instructional materials was another challenge teachers have to contend with. Teachers were only given curriculum guide as a reference, and they resort to using commercialized books. So based on the foregoing findings and results, the researcher proposed to have a contextualized instructional material in the form of a teacher's guide. This was entitled Read, Think, Write. The contents of the contextualized instructional materials are based on the topics and competencies found in the subject reading and writing skills. To describe the book, it contained 3 modules pertaining to the 3 major topics of the subject, with parts, namely, the content standard, the performance standard, specific lessons to be taught following the 5 phases: warm up, hook up, boost up, round up, and check up, respectively. The sources of instructional materials were local materials and some were crafted by the researcher himself. The book also was assessed by the experts on instructional materials production and by the education program supervisor in English in the division to know the extent of contextualization. The result of the survey was 4.80, which means very high extent of contextualization. Hence, the following conclusions were made. First, no prescribed textbook or instructional materials to be used, only CG as basis. Second, the extent of contextualization of the rated instructional materials was fairly moderate. Third, the contextualized teacher's guide in reading and writing skills is a good supplemental material in teaching reading and writing skills. Based on the conclusions, the following were the recommendations. First, the teacher in the Tabaco City Division must be proactive and supportive of the DepEd's mandate to contextualize lessons for their learners. Second, the Tabaco City Division should include in its operational plan the conduct of seminars and training regarding contextualization. Third, the teachers, not only those teaching reading and writing skills, may promote the culture of sharing and learning from other teachers' best practices. And fourth, Schools and other local offices should preserve the local materials and references that can be used as instructional materials by teachers in teaching certain subjects. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hector B. Atondo, saying thank you and good day.